if you are listening to the new Z Trip album on Hollywood Records, we're here, we're being silly. We got Supernatural, Z Trip, I'm Merce, and I like to have a good time. And on Saturday mornings, I used to like to get a big fat bowl of cereal and watch cartoons, motherfucker. And if you can't relate to this song, you're taking this shit too serious. It's hip hop, man. It's fucking fun.
I love eating cereal when I'm watching my cartoons. Ooh, I love Fruity Pebbles when I'm watching my cartoons. Ooh, I love Super Sugar Crisp when I'm watching my cartoons. Ooh, I love Count Chocula when I'm watching my cartoons.
Let's go.
Okay, so after 2 whole millenniums, we have another episode of the KashCast. I am KashCast, and with me, I have one of my fellow cartoon community friends, Benzie Johnson Jr. So we're gonna be talking some shit today. So, Benz, so introduce yourself. So, what's your shtick? What's about you?
I'm Benzie Johnson Jr. I'm enthusiastic about television, and I don't necessarily consider myself a cartoon YouTuber, actually, though I do converse with a lot of cartoon people. I just try and cover television more generally, though I do wander around kids' TV pretty often.
Yeah, he's stuck by us, guilty by association.
Yeah, guilt by association, really. When I'm not talking about beautiful foreign boys or whatever Nickelodeon's doing, or watching the new episode of Ridiculousness, I'm talking about all the little nooks and crannies of television, both domestic and international, and just a wide variety of things, really.
And this is probably gonna be a personal challenge for me, but I'm actually going to see like how long we can go without bringing up that one certain network, because I'll just like sidetrack the whole thing.
Oh well.
Let's see how long. Like, we have the timer. Okay.
It seems we have it. Yeah, we have the timer. It seems we have a challenge.
But yeah, like, okay, so I had like, I remember I like told you this like a while ago, like, via text, but I remember I feel like through most people, like, I had like found you like through Man of Thousand Thoughts video last year, just like shilling a bunch of like black creators. Now, going through no context, it's funny because I don't actually think I saw like any of your videos in my recommended like beforehand, but like going through just like and this is like no shade whatsoever, but like getting to know you, like, it's definitely made me like respect your content like more and more, because I'll fully admit I'm positive to a fault when it comes to like getting into like criticism of my content that I like, but it's only because there's just like a lot of negativity that is just like 95% bad faith. So like I'm glad when like someone like you like does disagree. It's like, oh, okay, so this guy like actually knows what he's talking about. So and thankfully we have like, I feel like 85% of our interests anyway are like complete overlaps. So yeah, basically, you're my echo fighter, and I'm glad to call you my friend.
I'm glad to have you as a friend to Cash. Like, we are very, very similar people. And it's really weird that we are so similar, and we've been in similar places personally, and we're kind of in similar departments in a way, content wise, but really when I make a video or make stuff for the channel, I try to be realistic and have healthy amounts of skepticism and optimism where warranted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I think a thing is good, you know full well I'm going to die on that hill. If I think a thing's bad, I will say so, but I will definitely back things up. I'm not regularly one to just, come out here with no real supporting arguments. Like, I will have the receipts, I will make the connections, I will put together all these different things and theorize based off that rather than just talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
Most of the time, at least. I have bad faith to before, and I am not completely close to doing it again. but I try. I just try to be real and honest, and try to make a case and stick to my guns.
And that's really like all you can do at the end of the day. So like, I'm glad you got like integrity, because, I guess it's just like when you're in my shoes, and especially considering some of the shows that like I'm passionate about, when it gets to like almost like 4 to 6 years of people making hour-long videos of just why your show is bad, like, you kind of get a little bit fed up, just a little bit peeved. Like, anytime. It's like fight or flight. Like, if someone's, like, talking negatively about something you're passionate about, it's like, okay, are they legitimately, like, trying to, air out, like, a potential issue, or are they just shitting on it for the sake of it being easy to brainwash people into that same opinion? That's what I have an issue with.
Yeah, that's sort of my problem too. Just sort of these like really weak arguments, and it it brings me like when you are talking to the guy that unabashedly and unreservedly loves breadwinners. I want to remind the two people who are listening to this of the Mr. Erica Lab, where I literally spent over half an hour dying on the hill of supporting breadwinners and Sanjay and Craig, and to some extent, mid-decade Nickelodeon as a whole, because, just in the online space, in sort of the circles that talk about mostly animation, but I try and broaden that out to just like the kids TV community. Like, a lot of the talk is on, there a lot of the talk is like, hailing up CN and bashing Nick. And
we did 7 minutes.
7 minutes. I suspected that's what you were waiting for me to say, but I literally cannot go 7 minutes. But
no, it's fine.
But when I see a lot of this sort of baseless ire, baseless hatred, and sort of arguably undeserved praise in certain circles, it's not something I like, and it's something I try to really fight against, and I try to bring nuance and context towards everything. And even though I may seem contrarian or pessimistic to some people, I just try and be a realist and try and be honest and try and make my case. And I think I've just repeated myself, and I was talking about breadwinners earlier.
I mean, hey, this is just like another thing that we have in common. I am completely used to dying on hills. Like, as a matter of fact, I don't know when it's going to get done, but I don't know, I think like I'm probably going to be like the only person, or maybe, no, if all comes to play, I might be like the first person to like make a review of Magical Girl Friendship Squad that isn't steaming fucking garbage. So that's good.
I salute you on your noble quest, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Yeah,
you certainly need it.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, because like I know, like I'm definitely gonna be on this hill like alone, and then
welcome to the club.
Like
this is us. Tuesday
like
nights at NBC.
I'm like, oh god damn. It's like that. It's like that fucking episode of SpongeBob, where like everyone's just like gung ho about like going like above water, but then they just like shuffle around and just like push SpongeBob to the front of the line first. That's me. That's my ass. And I don't know. You know, I think like in general, it's just the idea of that, like, you know, nothing is perfect. No, there's always going to be things that people like that have flaws, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they should be branded as like the worst thing ever. Especially if something that's like new, because like I don't know, like I would think it would be a normal thing to like want something to be better, but I feel like there's some people who kind of like want stuff to be bad so that way they can like milk it for clicks. Clownfish. But yeah, you know, like they just want something to be bad, you know, but it's like no one working on these shows like want things to be bad either, you know.
Yeah.
It's, from what I've been told, it's just like deadlines and corporate executives not really caring about
executive meddling.
Yeah, artists and like the time that they need, which sadly isn't anything new. But you know, like there have been times where it's even like I'm looking at like shows that like even I don't like because like I'm not that much of a positive contrarian. But then I look at like the storyboards, and then I look at the final animation, and then I'm like, okay, so these people obviously have talent, but it's like, what's being lost in translation? You know, and I don't know, it's a shame. You know, I honestly do feel that I honestly do feel like we're in like a bit of a change when it comes to like reviewer culture. You know, not I guess like okay, well maybe I am like tooting like our horn like a little bit and like our place in the quote unquote cartoon community. But like I am very pronounced of my goals. I've always had an issue with the idea of negativity gets you just more merit. Not just in like YouTube clicks, even though it's a big factor, but just the idea of just like if you dunk on something, you get more attention. I've seen people complain on Twitter about that. Like bigger people will just like dunk on a Netflix show that probably would have like gone on the radar anyway, but when something of more importance is happening, you don't see as many people talking about it. Except if you're a man, because like he's on like the pulse of everything. But you know, not everyone's man.
That reminds me. That last point just reminds me of that tweet I made when the astronauts premiered back on Friday night. Oh, the astronauts is so good. But I tweeted out like, yes, the astronauts is amazing, but like none of y'all are outside for live action kids TV the way that I am. I don't see. So like, can y'all be outside for live action kids TV a little bit, please? and I referred to I'm going to sort of repeat the tweet for a second, but like I sort of referred to like y'all are out here for like glitch tax and Rise of the TMNT. Meanwhile, on that very same channel, stuff like Harner Street and the Bureau of Magical Things got screwed over and like crickets. And I'm still really irked about all of those murders, to be completely honest. But like I feel like you're kind of it kind of skews your opinion a bit when you're only focusing on like the one half of things, and like not even the one half of things. Like if you divide like scripted live action things, animated things, and like unscripted fare, which Disney and Nick do a pretty decent amount of. Mm-hmm. Like you're when you're only focusing on just the animation bucket, you're really skewing the context for everything else, and it kind of warps your perception of things. And I think that's also why a lot of people complain, oh, Nick doesn't make a lot of animation. Well, they have to spend some of their budget on making things like Danger Force and Side Hustle and whatever. And like, you may not necessarily be terribly inclined to those things, but Nickelodeon's audience still wants to be served by those things, and they've been making live action for like 30 years now. They're not necessarily going to stop today because you want them to.
Oh yeah, like I would never.
I've got a couple other points that I want to get to, but I'll let you go.
Yeah, but yeah, like I would never want like I would never want like live action to completely go away. I will say, like, I honestly want to, like, I'm just like, I've already like said publicly that I am like always like tired, so I don't have the time to watch TV. But for the stuff that does come up, like I do want to like give everything a fair chance, you know. So that does mean watching live action stuff that isn't Power Rangers, admittedly. And I will admit, you did a Show Me the Astronauts, and I was like incredibly impressed with like what they were showing. So I definitely want to like check that out.
Oh, it's so good. It is like the best, like honestly, literally the best thing to come out on kids TV this year. Like,
oh my God.
And if not the best thing, then it's fighting with Infinity Train Book 3. Because like I haven't seen Infinity Train Book 3. Spoiler alert. So, but like, if it's not the best thing, it is duking it out with Infinity Train Book 3 for number one. It is just so well done. It's so cinematic. It is so beautifully tense and drama filled, and it is just, they could not have told this story in a more perfect way. Good Lord. This is, it's fucking art.
Oh my God.
I have not said a show is fucking art since Pinky Malinky came out at the start of last year, and it feels good to say it again. and to have reason to say it again, give it, especially with all this year has brought us.
Now I will say, first, wait, I think I almost forgot my point. Oh wait, fuck. Oh shit. Okay, yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But first, I will say that you are right. Like it's definitely important to have like a balanced diet, so to speak, when it comes to for consuming entertainment. And I don't know, just that like with like I don't know, like with those like Netflix revivals for like a brief period, like those movies, like I know like shit was jumping, but when when it comes to like Pink Malinky, when you brought up earlier, I forgot that existed.
I probably don't even need to explain again, but I was so pissed off when Pinky Malinky was going to Netflix.
Man.
Well, Pinky Malinky and Glitch Text. Because like it had been, I talked about this in multiple videos. Is my mic still going from this mic?
You're recording on my end.
Change?
Oh, do you need to click the gear?
I just want to double check.
Oh wait, I can't change the. Well, I can't change my settings, so I don't know if you can.
I can't hit the gear either.
But I don't know, like
because like it's. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know if it's. I don't know. I don't know. Is that closer or no?
What you just did was closer.
Oh, okay, so I guess it might still be coming off this mic because like I don't want to. Because like I changed a thing in Discord right quick because like I don't want to screw it up. Okay, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, it is fine. Like this podcast is just like kind of like cursed with technical issues. I'm really gonna be the next Pan. Look at me.
Look at you. Your friends, your IRLs already know. Hey everybody, it's the KashCast. Who are you people? Hey, it's the Rebel Taxi Pizza Party podcast. Who are you people? I can do a really good Pan.
Oh my God, that's surprising.
One of the few imitations I can do. But I was so irked. I've been super irked about a lot of Nick's programming decisions, both animation and live action, and I've tried to make that ire known in various videos, either when it happens or after the fact. But I also try and congratulate them when they do things right eventually, which is why I eventually finally put out that video on the schedule changes that T-Nick had back last year, even though it was a whole last year before I put that video out. Because I really wanted to congratulate them on actually doing something different and doing something very nice, and that really should be appreciated. And I try to extend that. To all of the networks and all the things, and try and give everybody a fair shot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not going to stand for like I'm not going to act like the past didn't happen. So my current relationship with Cartoon Network, I'm going to hit the QI klaxon again, I guess.
Ding ding ding. Ding ding ding.
Blue whale. My current relationship with CN is strained, and as much as I want to see them succeed, they are not necessarily doing things that I personally feel are good moves for them, and I'm not necessarily all that big on their content right now either. So like some people think of that as pessimism, or just, well, not even pessimism, just like outright CN bashing. And while admittedly you can make the case, it's just like I'm trying to be honest with you here. Like I'm not going to tell you they're doing hot sliced bread right now, because I just want people to really look at these things with nuance and look at these situations with context and give the credit where it's due, yes, but also
hold them accountable,
hold them to the fire when they aren't doing good things. And I want to circle around to a couple of things that I didn't get a chance to do, because like you brought up some really good points that I want to just touch on.
Oh yeah, sure.
The kids TV space and the animation space, or at least some aspects of it, really, really do throw around that something is the worst thing, like way too often. Like it's ridiculous. Like not everything. If everything is the worst thing, then nothing really is. And
exactly.
And like as much as it kind of comes with some of the history, a lot of the kids TV space up until recently was sort of modeled along the lines of folks like Mr. Error and other folks who kind of bad faith their way through a lot of things. And I'm very happy that we're actually getting like nuance and context and like actual real like integrity instead of just like hate for hate's
because
sake.
we walked in there.
Yeah, we walked in the fucking door. Yeah, but like
time.
as much as hate sells, like not everything is deserving of the fire of 1,000 suns. And this is, mind you, this is coming from the guy whose entire following is basically predicated on hating Thundercats Roar. Like I would know, because my entire YouTube career is based on hate.
Yeah,
very, very principally targeted hate.
My God. Yeah, this is like...
That was a fucking time.
Oh my God. No, just like this whole combo is like the fucking Joker just like saying, oh, I'm not that evil. Like I pay my taxes,
137 million? Yes, and if I don't pay up, I'll go to jail for tax evasion. I'm crazy enough to take on Batman, but the IRS, no, thank you.
Why so serious?
But I do want to say, I completely agree with just like holding companies accountable. This might not be your personal level of expertise, but I would just say, as a Sonic fan, I completely understand where you're coming from, because it feels like everyone just wants to just like hold out a level of optimism to the point where they think like legitimate criticism is just like being a negative Nancy and just like being like a Squidward. Where I'm like, and this is probably gonna be a point where you might not have um like a response to weigh on. That's cool, but I'm just like I'm kind of annoyed because it's like you have all this infighting and you have like other Twitter game communities just like laughing at Sonic fandom for existing. But my main argument is like niggas keep telling us to be patient. Okay, we were patient for I don't know. I think like at least like 2 to 3 years. Uh, okay, so Forces came out in like 2017, and we just had like we had Lost World, and we had like the Boom sub franchise, which Crash and Burned, and the cartoon.
Steen.
Yeah, the cartoon ended up like getting fucked over by CN scheduling, which not
And now you wonder.
Shocker. Ding ding ding.
Now you wonder if you
It
ever
all comes full
wondered.
circle.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. But it's like we haven't had like shit. But then, it's like, oh, so we have something to look forward to. So like the old heads have their game, and then like people in like our age range have their game. And like, everything's good. But the thing was rushed. Apparently they spent more time on the engine itself than like the actual game. It was a flat out lie to say that it was like from the team that gave us Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations when there was like barely any of that. They crammed classic Sonic in, which, that's not really appealing to anyone. And, it just perpetrates the idea that like trying anything new with this franchise is bad because it's 3D Sonic and all 3D Sonic is bad. So now we just have more self-deprecation from the fucking Twitter accounts, and it's just like so tiring because everyone's just saying, "Oh, you got a movie, you got the comics," but I'm like, those aren't really substitutes. Okay, it's been like almost 4 years. You tell me that like I have to like wait for every anniversary to get a game, and now I don't even know if it's gonna be good. No, I'm not asking for like fucking Sonic Adventure 3. I'm not asking for Sonic 5. I'm just asking for something that's good and something that's not afraid to be itself and not like, marketing itself towards people who don't like Sonic unironically. Which is also why I don't really get why the the company has been so gung-ho about getting people like Aaron Hansen to help promote the games when he does not like the games, and he is intentionally or otherwise a very big factor as to why there is a negative perception around Sonic. Not the only factor, but a very big factor. Like, there are people who genuinely like Sonic. Get some Call Me Johnny on one of these commercials or some shit. Come on. I don't think Aaron Hansen when I see Sonic Fan. And just dealing with just like breadcrumbs while like Sega literally is going through like other IPs. Like if they're bringing back, like, it's like, to explain this to like a normal person, so to speak, it's like you're just asking for, like, say you're just like asking for like a new season of a show that you like that just got canned, but instead of something that's like reasonable and you're not asking for much, they like the network like caters to like literally every other show that's like getting neglected, like giving them all the like banger revivals or extra seasons or spin-offs or whatever, and they're all like hitting out of the park. Like, like there's fucking
Literally
like,
every CanCon thing gets a new season, but Detention Air, basically.
oh my god.
Oh, Detention Air is a fucking discussion we all need to have, but that's
on
not his
Tubi.
fucking. But not today, apparently.
Yeah, not in this tangent. I'm so sorry. But it's like when I see these people like, okay, so it's like the Yakuza franchise. That's like a sleeper hit that like I didn't expect to catch on, but it did. But I'm like, when these people like figure out ways to bring out like Wonder Boy and Monster Land and like freaking Space Channel 5 VR and Choo Choo Rocket and then all of these like dormant IPs in like some form. When they bring back like Alex Kidd, but they just like refuse to like do anything for Sonic. Like I don't think you can blame me for being cynical. I'll take a Super Mario 3D All Stars repackaging of like some games. I'm not asking for much, but apparently to people who want to be aggressively positive and like people who just think it's fun to dunk on Sonic, we're entitled for wanting something better and not wanting a marketing that's inherently self-deprecative. And I'm tired of it. And that's the end of my rant. I don't know.
And Sonic rant.
Yeah.
I hear the Sonic space is a whole hot mess and a half, but
Oh my god.
y'all deserve some fucking nuance.
And this isn't even the Sonic episode. I'm supposed to fucking get Wasp Ranger on this shit.
Well, you can cut this.
Yeah.
Botched
no, it's material.
sort of. I want to circle back to botched executions for a bit because it happens to remind me of a video that I just finished recording.
Ding ding ding! Check it out.
Yeah, go check it out when it uploads. It's supposed to be this week's upload. Yes, it's supposed to be this week's upload as of recording, but I don't know when I'm gonna put it out this week.
I don't know why I'm gonna put the podcast out. Fucking talking about.
Well, if it's up, it's going to be up late-ish November. So if it's past late-ish November, chances are it's up. It's the Coach Me If You. It's a video on Coach Me If You Can, one of the few international cartoons that's been able to come out this year ish, and like I'm not going. I don't want to spoil the review now, but it does feel. I sort of walked away from that feeling like an example of sort of a really great concept that was just sort of botched in execution, and it sort of turned into a disappointment. And especially because like a similar concept has been done to success elsewhere, and it's just like, why? Why did you do the decisions you made? And again, no one wants to make a bad show, but like when you make a bad show, you deserve to be called out on it and have it, reasonably said that, hey, you made a bad show. Try better next time.
Yeah. You're allowed to air your grievances,
Yeah. But you can't just go around saying that things are just abjectly awful unless it actually really deserves it.
Yeah.
Reserve the fire and the ire that you use for that sort of thing to the things that deserve it. Luckily I haven't had to use that all that often, to be honest. Like besides Thundercats Roar, I'm still kind of mad at the BBC for killing off BBC 3 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And literally, literally, I've been holding I really hold some fucking grudges when it comes to television channels. Like I'm a real nice fucking person, but like if a television channel does me wrong, I will fucking hold a grudge. Like after the BBC 3 closure, I literally watched I was a pretty solid viewer of various content from them. Up to that closure, I literally did not watch anything from them up until this year.
Damn.
I was like, it was part laziness and part ire, to be fair. But like, I've only just started watching things from the BBC again. Like I got into QI. I've started watching Only Connect again because this new season just started. And I need to crawl my way back to Mock the Week at some point. which I talked about Mock the Week, that was like one of my first videos where I talked briefly about Mock the Week. It's such I've been watching it for years. It's such a good show. British panel shows are a very specific and unique animal. And I think I need to talk about them a little bit sometime, but I don't know if I'll ever get to it.
When it comes
Where the
to
fuck am I
foreign-
going?
Oh. Hey man, if you don't know, I don't know. You know what I mean? When it comes to foreign TV, for me at least, I'll admit, I think it's more like, unless a network is like willing to like take the risk, so to speak, and like air something that they didn't make, that's like the only way that I'll know about it. It's it's like a funny coincidence, but it's like I'm kind of like surprised because like where I am at the moment, it's probably like I haven't had so many friends who are Canadian or living in Canada up until this point. And it's just like a weird thing to say out loud, but it's like I've been geeking out with some people. If you're listening to this, you know who you are. Hi. But it's kind of surreal of just like the amount of shows that like we did have in common. Like I don't know, I guess like some shit on the top of my head. Like maybe some like shorts from like Nicktoons Network. Definitely What's a Vandy, like off the top of my head. Like my God. Like I even know. Because like I remember, if I remember correctly, like 2004, like around that, it was showing on Toon Disney. And it was like one of my favorite shows, like on the channel, honestly. Like besides the reruns of Power Rangers Dino Thunder. But then like I remember like finding out, like I think like probably around like 2007, 2008, because I was as young as that. I was starting to learn that, hey, networks do a shit job of showing your shows. So it's like I remember having to like go on some YouTube knockoff called Gooba just to find full episodes of Kablam just to rewatch those. And then it was through that
You're
I found
learning to
out,
hate the executives early.
yes.
Started me young.
And it was through that I was like, wait, what the fuck? Because there's like, apparently we skipped a whole ass season of What's with Andy in the States. Like season 3 like did not air here. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's in English. It's like my childhood's a lie. Like, it's not fair. Love that shit.
So what was with Andy? but no, seriously, that is how a lot of people consume or have the opportunity to consume foreign content. No one really seeks it out unless you're like really invested into this sort of thing. So like
Yeah.
the thing about the US, like we are a very insular television market. Like we tend to make our own things more so than we acquire our own things, contrast to other countries where they all take our stuff, mostly on like pay TV,
Yeah.
and they
I
have a
got
much
some
smaller
hilarious.
local production outfit.
Right.
But like
Yep.
here in the US,
No, no, I'm sorry. I just want to say, like, I had like a little hilarious story when it comes to international people watching our content. But you continue.
Yeah, but here in the US, we make a lot of the stuff that we air, if not like the entirety in the cases of some channels. Whereas in other countries, they're the ones taking our content, largely on pay TV, and there's a few local, the major television networks in that country are usually the majority of the local output in whatever nation in question. And so, as much as we export all of our television products out, we are very averse to bringing things in. And a lot of the things that we bring in just tend to get screwed over for reasons unexplainable. And it's weird, and I kind of hate it. And I wish that television here in the US just treated foreign shows better, because they are just as much deserving of a chance as domestic fare is. Like, probably one of the best recent examples I can think of is Schitt's Creek, if you've heard of that show.
I haven't, but please explain it.
It's a show about a very wealthy family who lose all their wealth and whatnot, and have to move to the one bit of property, one bit of wealth that they still own, which is a really podunk small town. And so they have to live there and deal with things and feel that culture clash. And it ran on CBC for, what was it, 5 or 6 seasons? But I don't think it would have gone that far if it wasn't for Pop TV in the US eventually picking it up and sort of turning it into a cult favorite of sorts. And so we kind of just took it in, and and it built an audience here, and it now has a pretty somewhat small but very loyal fan base. And I need to watch Schitt's Creek. I have not. I think I might have watched like 1 or 2 early episodes. So I need to like actually watch Schitt's Creek. It's like I haven't been keeping up on a lot of shows, to be completely honest. Like I need to bulk up my bona fides over winter break or something.
Oh my
But like
God.
that's a great
Yeah,
example. That's a great example of the influence and power that the US has, because like it's kind of a big deal given the cultural importance that this nation has. Like if a show comes to the US, that's sort of like, holy crap, you're kind of in the big time. Maybe not as much as previously, because international fare and like streaming is more important, is becoming more important. I should check my words there. But like, the fact that Cartoon Network brought over a lot of Canadian things back in the day. Johnny Test is probably the ultimate example. Like, do you really think that Johnny Test would have made it to 7 seasons if it weren't for Cartoon Network having a heavy hand in the show's continued existence?
Oh no, and I think it's like actually interesting because like looking back, I think like for a period like Total Drama and 16 were really just like defining, and like a defining period in network where it's kind of like the inverse of what's happening now, where instead of like aggressively going towards younger demographics, they were really trying to like test the waters, just like see what they could push to appeal to like people who were like a bit older. And I just thought that was interesting how they really capitalized. However, real people know that a little bit before 16 was on Cartoon Network, it actually was on Nickelodeon, or at least the N or Teen Nick or whatever. And I remember being a little bit confused about that.
I think it would have been the N at the time, because Teen Nick did not exist until 2009.
Oh, of course.
It was the rebrand of the N.
Well, you are Mr. Television, so
I would know. This is kind of my department. So like I would know when the major channel changes, because it was when Nick launched their current logo that all the channels became their current forms.
Right. And honestly, I'm just looking at a list of Wikipedia because like I am bad at like actually rattling shit off at the top of my head.
That's understandable. I have to double check all the time.
But it's just like interesting because like something that I've also like taken issue with is just like the idea that Canadian animation is like bad, like a punching bag. But it's like, oh my God,
I really resent that argument as someone who has watched and enjoyed so much CanCon in recent years, like unbelievable amounts. Like YTV and Teletoon, and to a very small extent Family Channel. God, they're a mess nowadays. But all of the Canadian kids TV producers really knock stuff out of the park, and yet they're not going to get the love they're due either, because of, for a lot of people, Canadian kids TV begins and ends at Johnny Test, and however
Yes.
people feel about Johnny Test at any given moment roughly translates to however people feel about Canadian kids TV. And now in the death of Johnny Test, the waters have shifted against that show, and therefore thus for Canadian Kids Con as a whole. And like, I hate that take. I just hate everything about the Toon Space's approach to Canadian kids TV at the moment. Like, she is Louise, y'all. Y'all are out here. Y'all are out here doting over middling fare sometimes. But like, Canada comes out swinging, and y'all are quiet. Y'all need to be out here. And really, again, it just sort of circles back to the point, like, y'all need to just give everything a chance, regardless of origin.
Yeah. Like, it figures that, it figures that I wouldn't have, like, more people to talk about, like, Canadian cartoons until I actually made friends who are Canadian, right? It's like, I'm just looking at Wikipedia, and I'm just like, I'm kind of like surprised. It's like some stuff, like the Sam Max cartoon, I had no idea that was Canadian, honestly, and that's like one of my favorite shows. But just like a lot of stuff, I'm very familiar with, or at least vaguely familiar with. Like, I'm seeing like Atomic Betty, Babar, Berenstain Bears being eaten, Brace Face. Wouldn't it be funny if someone did a video on that?
That would be so
hilarious.
funny.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
Like
funny if we met a whole new person because of that video?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be that really would be complicated?
Yeah.
Boyfriend, teenage, and all that.
Oh my god. The fucking waveforms of that laugh, bro. My god. So let's see. What's some other shit I'm seeing here? Camp Lake Bottom. I think it was like
Camp
that.
Lake Bomb.
It was that and Packages from Planet X, which was on Disney.
Yes,
XD, right? Hey,
Packages from fucking the entire Disney XD used to be fucking out here for CanCon. Okay.
Yeah.
Camp Lake Bomb, Packages from Planet X, Atomic Puppet, Fangbone,
Boyster.
Well, that's European.
Yeah. Oh.
Boyster is French, but also Boyster. We cannot leave Boyster out of that discussion. Disney XD used to be fucking out here every summer. A whole raft of new beautiful foreign boys would come up the beach like it's an episode of Baywatch, and I was outside for all of them. just like McGee and Boyster and Bill. Just imagine them in like the lifeguard outfits coming up the beach in slow motion. That is how I think of that period.
Like, oh shit! Like they were with this shit from the beginning. Like, I didn't even know Jimmy Two Shoes was Canadian. That was like one of my favorite fucking shows.
Jimmy Two Shoes. And while we're talking about very early era Disney XD, I need to give a shout out to Ray Day for Awesome.
Ooh. Man. That whole channel was just like a vibe back then,
Disney XD from launch until like 2017, really. They really flamed out awfully. But up until the moment that the Great Fire was set off and they burnt off everything they had, Disney XD was really out here. Admittedly, my relationship with the channel only really began in like 2011, 2012, but really, we did not know how good we had it back then.
Yeah.
We really didn't. And And honestly, just like the stories. Did you know that the UK made like 4 more seasons of Fort Boyard Ultimate Challenge after Disney XD pulled out?
No, but that is not
They did.
surprising.
Yeah, it was a co-production between Disney XD US and CITV, and Disney XD's contribution were half the contestants in the first 2 seasons, and Gino Sagers of Pair of Kings as one of the hosts. And so they made 2 seasons like that, and then Disney XD, for whatever reason, decided not to move forward with that. But CITV kept going. They got a new host, and they extended the format to an hour, and they kept running it and they made a season 3, a season 4, a season 5, and a season 6 before they stopped. And that was, and I watched a solid chunk of that. It just like sitting on my stream of weekend breakfast on ITV, waiting for the reruns of Fort Boyard to come on in like 2014, 2015. It was a whole vibe, and I'd like to say that I still sit around on late Friday and Saturday nights watching that, but like I haven't been.
Yeah.
Just because of the shows that they've been running. But I've tried to like kind of keep up with Scrambled, which is sort of a wraparound programming block in the 7:30 to 9:30 portion of or 7:30 to 9:25 specifically. It's a very, very specific technicality, because the ITV breakfast franchise is separate from the ITV franchises for the rest of the day, and the cutoff was at 9:25 a.m. specifically.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, let's go into that. But actually, Apple Mask / Bob the Fish has probably gone into the ITV regional structure as it once was, in probably far more detail than I can muster, in his series called ITV in the Face, where he goes through all the history and all the idents, and just sort of from the beginnings of all of these different local franchises to their ultimate amalgamation into usually one of the predecessor companies to the current ITV PLC, Carlton and Granada, which ultimately merged in 1990 something, and then the combined ITV acquired UTV and Channel later on. But it's a good series. You can either watch the 2008 one on YouTube, or like the 2018 one on their Vimeo. But anyway, back to my tangent. The breakfast time franchises, specifically from 6 a.m. to 9:25, and on weekends that becomes sort of a simulcast of the CITV channel, which is a separate channel in its own right. But ITV has kids content requirements to fill, so that's how they fill them out. So like just sitting there like watching them, and one of the things I've been following is Scrambled, their wraparound show in the back 2 hours of that block, starting at 7:30, and they've been running a lot of CN Fair, so like I haven't been watching, but
yeah, it's a kryptonite, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about basically every currently running Cartoon Network show to some extent or another in various videos on my channel. But I've been here for some of the non-CN. Well, no, I watch the Tom and Jerry show whenever the stream I'm watching allows it. And the interstitials are fun. I try and stick around for the interstitials, but recently what they did with it is that they still air the Saturday edition of the show on ITV, but they've moved the Sunday edition. They've ended simulcasting the Sunday edition of the show, which they just brought back this year, or they just brought back this fall after cutting it out during the pandemic.
Understandable.
No, no, they cut it back to Saturdays only last season.
Ah, okay.
Usually it runs from like September to like April, like September or October to like April-ish, but I guess they ended early because of the pandemic. But it was running Saturdays only, and now they have it back to Saturdays and Sundays like it has been, but they moved the Sundays one They've stopped simulcasting on ITV, so it's now only on the CITV channel, and that is much harder to find a stream for. So I'm irked because like my favorite segment on the whole damn show is right at the end of the Sunday program, and I'm just like, I might as well explain it, given I've spent like 20 minutes 20 minutes on this tangent. But my favorite segment is the end of the Super Scrambled Shiny Showdown, where the 4 hosts of the show compete for. They divide themselves up into teams of 2. Previously, it was boys versus girls, but now it is a different division this season. But they divide themselves up into 2 teams, and they play a series of games to win a mug for a lucky viewer. And they got like a rhyme time game. They've got like a charades game. They've got like a couple different like sort of party things, I guess. But my favorite one, and if you know me, this is going to be very obvious.
Here we go.
But my favorite segment is the last round, called the sausage song. This is, again, if you know me and my love for innuendos, but the deal is that they take a lyric of a pop song and they replace one of the words in there with the word sausage, and you have to guess what the word they replaced was, and obviously points are awarded if they get it right. and as you, like, I understand that like sausage for breakfast is a thing in the UK. I fully understand that. I'm fully aware that is a completely normal thing. But when you're talking to a young adult at 4:15 in the morning, watching from on the other side of the world, who loves innuendo, it means something very different, and it's become sort of a game. Or I've shared the ones from the past several seasons with some of my friends, and we kind of made fun out of it. I'm gonna see if I can't look a couple of them up, honestly, because I want to share a couple of these.
You should probably like find a way to actually like recreate that process in the VCs. Can you fucking imagine?
Honestly, it's probably very easy. But I will probably put more effort in trying to do an actual innuendo than they do. Because like they have like, you know, just like sometimes they'll hit. Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I love cheap sausages. Also,
that accent was like suspiciously good.
Yeah, well, I like the UK was the first foreign TV country that I got into. Like literally the first thing I watched when I found streams on the internet was a stream of BBC One from the UK. And when I found at the time, it was like afternoon over there, and this was still while they were still airing CBBC on BBC 1 and 2, which they stopped doing in like 2012, 2013. So this was like summer 2011. And like that was like, I remember it very, very well. It's like one of the first, like that was the first thing I watched on the internet. And it was just like I just caught in the middle of it, like an interstitial. And I was just like, that's like the first thing. And so like I'm very familiar with the UK in particular, probably more so than I am with Canada necessarily, even though I am pretty familiar with Canada. But like on a like nitty gritty standpoint, I'm probably more familiar with the UK.
What next? You're gonna make a Steps reference? There's gonna be one person in the audience who's gonna fucking
welcome to the S Club 7.
Hey!
Spice up your life with foreign television. Ain't running from myself no more. I'm ready to sausage it all. Who runs the world? Sausage. I'm trying to specifically imitate the announcer guy that they have for the sausage song, because like it's a very specific announcer with a very specific accent that they pick, and it's like it makes it funnier, kind of.
Yeah, like the voice is like half the joke, you know?
Yeah. Like they have, I think there's like one instance. The Scrambled YouTube channel has like one instance of the actual sausage song, in full, and it's a shame because it's such they do such good segments all the time, but they only chose to save one specific segment. I'll have to link it to you off show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like, it's fun and it's unintentionally humorous. These are the things that I have in my life. Oh my god, she's got the sausage. Look at her. She's got the sausage.
I think for me, like you're
These are all
like
so good.
well, yeah, they ain't one of like fucking hilarious. But for me, it's like I'm not naturally the type of like television historian that you are. Like I'm not like gonna wake up and go like, oh boy, 3 a.m. and like tune into my Canada stream or whatever. You know?
Oh boy, 3 a.m. late night 22 minutes on CBC.
You know, the time's a lot.
Oh boy, 3 a.m. Well, actually, probably 11 a.m. daytime game shows in the UK because of the time difference. It kind of clashes with ours.
See, you're out here actually knowing time zones. But for me, like I'm so insomniac. Like I just think like everyone is like
time zones are like one of the first things I had to nail. Like I know what time it is, and I probably have a decent shot at knowing what time it is in Sydney right now.
Wow.
Like that was kind of like Australia and New Zealand are sort of far flung in many ways, honestly. But like I kind of have a handle on that. But like, yeah, I honestly I don't consider myself a television historian necessarily. I feel like I have a very good grasp on modern television, like post 2011. Like when I really started diving into international television, I just sucked it all up like a sponge. But like before that, I'm not necessarily all that well versed. So like modern things, yes, but like not necessarily. I don't feel I deserve the title historian. Enthusiast, yes. Historian, no. I feel like there are people who are better deserving of that, who have a wider breadth of knowledge than I do.
I still think that knowledge that you do have is very admirable. I think for me personally, the only way I could compare is with Toonami. And even then, that's not really like that like it's still a block that has a lot of history, and 90% of the discussion on YouTube is repeating the same things. But, you know, this is completely ignoring the international presence. Like, I remember, like, I was showing this to you a couple days ago, but someone actually did a pretty good documentary about Toonami's presence in the UK, and it was kind of
short-lived Toonami television channel.
It was kind of like an inverse of Disney XD when you think about it, because like they started with CNX, which was which is just like a blend of like just like Toonami, but like blatantly for like an older audience. So
because they were trying to. Yeah, I'm like somewhat aware of this story, but it is before my time a bit.
Of course, I just can't believe that it ended up with their dead ass being commercials of fucking Life of Derek airing on Toonami. That
weird things into the Toonami canon.
Yeah.
There are a couple international Toonami channels out there which are more.
It's interesting, really.
It's more. I would say it's Disney XD, but it's not Disney XD. It's very superhero focused.
Yeah, Toonami
Is the
France.
thing? Yeah, Toonami France, Toonami Asia. I think I don't think there's. I think those are the only two. But
Yeah. Like for me, and I think this is where my foreign awakening is gonna start to come. But you see, this is the interesting part. So I don't know if you remember watching CW4 Kids in like the latest 2000s.
yeah, I was outside for basically all of the Saturday morning television blocks. I was there when Vortex died.
Yeah,
I was there, and I
was
was there for it twice. I watched it
man.
die on my local CW affiliate on the East Coast, and then I cobbled some things together and watched it die through a CW affiliate on the West Coast.
Oh my god, you masochist. You good?
And we complain about D'Angelo. But no, it was such a watershed moment for television. And I think it's not going to necessarily go down in the history books in the same way that like the switch to color or the switch to digital or the merger that created the CW in the first place necessarily will, but it's a hugely important moment. And it was really, really gutting to exist on that morning, to be honest.
Yeah.
Neither that morning nor the morning nor the week after that was not one magnificent morning. I'll tell you that.
That was like empty. Like that's how I felt when Toonami ended. But I'm getting sidetracked.
Go off.
Reason, yeah. No,
go off, fucking crazy train.
Oh my god. But yeah, like the reason that I bought up Fear Before Kids was that I remember 2009 I think was a pretty interesting year for the quote unquote Ameritoku fan base, because not only did we get Power Rangers RPM, but we got Kamen Rider Dragon Knight.
Yes, I watched Kamen Rider Dragon Knight because it was on.
Nice.
I don't know how well I kept up with it, but I did at least watch it some of it. I watched at least some amount of it, but I did because like by 2009, you were kind of running out of options with regards to what was on because Fox had already bowed out. And it was down to the CW. CBS had basically descended into preschool CBS was like a revolving door of Saturday morning blocks. To be honest, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, they had Coolopolis.
Yeah, it was Nick on CBS, then Nick Jr. on CBS. Then after the split, they just like really went at because like they had KOL Secret Slumber Party, Coolopolis.
Yeah.
Cookie Jar. No, I'm thinking of Coolopolis. Cookie Jar TV, and then after Cookie Jar TV, I think they bowed out basically. Well, they were consumed by our Lytton overlords, but but we need not discuss that.
Right.
They've gone to a worse place. They have unshackled themselves from this mortal coil, and have gone to the awful EI malicious compliance department downstairs.
Oh shit! But
I'm not very happy about the what happened to Saturday mornings. Let me tell you. But that's a story for another fucking time.
Yes. However, just to get this off, so 2009 was just like a very interesting place if you were a Maritoku fan, because both these shows were like yin and yang and on competing networks. So like Power Rangers RPM was like basically it was like the swan song for the franchise. I think it was like a contractual obligation for sake of toys in order to make one more season. Because if not for that, Disney would have like killed the franchise with no after Jungle Fury. And I
Oh yeah, yeah. Because
yeah
it's. I remember at some point Disney just stopped caring, and they
yeah
sent Power Rangers out unbranded at 12 at noon after the
yeah
ABC Kids block, and I don't know what year they started doing that,
that
but
is definitely how I remember catching up on
that is
RPM because
I
I think yeah
they
that's like
did
the
brand
only
it. I
place they
think
showed it.
I think Jungle Fury might have been the last. Now that you bring up that name, I think that might have been the last one they branded as ABC Kids, and then they started just shoving it out unbranded at 12 at noon.
Man,
But ABC Kids was sort of in a weird holding pattern at that point anyway. So like
yeah.
it was like at least you could lie to yourself in the back half of the 2000s. But like when the blocks started dropping circa 2011, then murder and carnage everywhere. It was like
Mm-mm.
stepping into the apocalypse.
And it's funny you say that because the premise of RPM is exactly that, the apocalypse.
How fun.
Yes, yes, and not at all timely. With a sentient computer virus basically destroying everything. It was
Totally
basically
not appropriate for this era. Very much
uh,
not appropriate for 2020. Similarly to Super Noobs.
I mean, I will say, it was shockingly ambitious and mature, but not like overly grimdark. Eddie Gazalian. Okay, so similar to how like Mech X4 was like done by a Steve Marmel, I
Hmm.
think that's his name from like
Yeah,
Danny
Steve
Phantom.
Marmel.
So Eddie Gazalian was the initial showrunner for the first half of RPM. However, he was a bit. Oh yeah, he was on Jake Long. From the
Oh,
top of my head. Yeah, I think from like season 2, that was like the part of the show that like had that big writing boost. So he knew how to like do a show. The thing is though, not only was he tasked with like making a really dark premise from a Sentai which was very lighthearted, but he had gone over budget. So Disney kind of axed him and bought in a veteran showrunner, Judd Lin, to finish it up, which um the whole show is still good, but when you when you notice, you definitely feel something a little bit different. And then you go into like my category where you're like looking into things where it's like some ideas of like finale if he stayed. And it would have been like really fucking ambitious. But that's besides the point. On the other side, with CW4 Kids, we had Comrade Dragon Knight, which the Comrade franchise has not had a good track record when it comes to being bought over to the States. And um, rumor has it that Saban's Masked Rider from '95 was like so bad, the creator was basically like, "Fuck you, Saban's never getting the rest of my franchise like ever again." So that's how we got Adams Entertainment, inadvertently competing with Power Rangers while adapting 2002's Kamen Rider Ryuki, and it was also a surprisingly mature, surprisingly ambitious thing. While they did intentionally pick a Ryuki because it has like the most amount of characters, meeting more toys. It had integrity and it had people behind it who did like it. I think it even won some. I think it even won an award, like a daytime Emmy for stunt design. The thing
wow.
is, since it was only available on Fear Before Kids, I don't think a bigger network ever put into syndication. And there was not really, there were like some hard to find DVDs and a game. And I think the toys came out after the fact. And the show got
Oh.
canceled like the final 2 episodes in. And they just like dumped it
Ah.
online. Yeah, they doing that shit. They cored that fucker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he was
good
just
fucking.
fucked.
I
So,
mean the CW. I mean, a nationally networked Saturday morning television block is still, admittedly, quite a
Yeah.
level of cachet. Because, like, you're consistently scheduled for the most part.
Yeah.
You've got, a network behind you. It is network programming. You can't be, it's hard to preempt. It's hard to screw around with. And we learned just how important that was when Sinclair Broadcast Group, how I hate their conservative guts, launched the Kids Click programming block, largely on their stations as well as on This TV, which I believe they part owned at the time or something like that, for to offer some sort of national coverage back in 2017. So here I am, 3 years after the death of networked Saturday morning television, still grieving, and this comes around, and I'm honestly hopeful, like rightfully hopeful, and they really did come swinging. Like, they had a pretty decent programming slate. They had Miraculous. They had that Hot Wheels show, not Battle Force
5?
not Battle Force 5.
Oh,
A different one.
the only
But
one
they had like a
remember.
Hot Wheels show. I forget the name of it. They had Zach Storm. They had a couple other shows, including like this French one that I forget. It's in my head, but I forget what it's called. It's about like this werewolf guy and their band looking for gigs. I'm not gonna recall it right now because I want to tell the story. Like, but it ran 7 days a week. They had a pretty solid slate, honestly. Coming in with basically only having like the international markets and whatever they could scrounge to go on, because they were basically going it alone. So like they really put up a decent fight, and like starting out, it ran from 6 to 9 on weekdays and then 7 to 10 on weekends. I think was what they were planning, or at least that was what the national component aired at. And that all sounds fine and dandy now, Cash. That all sounds fine and dandy until you realize what the affiliates did with it.
Oh,
All the various Sinclair affiliates handled it in different ways. Some of them already had local morning newscasts. Some of them had various other programming commitments at the time. And so in a lot of markets, this programming went out as early as 4 or 5 a.m. on weekdays.
Whoa.
Nobody's up. Like 4 to 7 or like 5 to 8, depending on the market. Some markets treat it better, like WNYO here in Buffalo. Please cut the here. WNYO in Buffalo, the minor TV affiliate. They ran it from 9 to noon on weekends, and then like 7 to 10 on weekdays. So like they scheduled it decently, but like everyone else screwed around with it and shoved it like before the morning newscasts or like before other things. And so it was really, the scheduling kind of doomed it in a way, but they did at least stick it out for like 2 years and change, which I commend them for. But like, this is why scheduling is important.
Yeah.
You don't I bitch about shows being on at like 5 instead of in prime time, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon instead of being in prime time, or like shows moving to Sundays. Like Sundays Are Where Kids TV Goes to Die is a really important video in terms of like my worldview.
Not the shill or anything.
My worldview in terms of like kids TV, and so like looking at examples like this, or how Cartoon Network treated toyetic properties back in the day, like in the earlier 2010s, like scheduling is so important, and scheduling probably killed that programming block, because that audience is not going to be up at 4 a.m. The advertiser is not going to want programming at 4 a.m. plus it's inconsistently scheduled across the country, so you don't know when the thing's going to be on. And like the Kids Click website didn't really offer a lot of clarity in that regard either. Like they said, here's when the block's on, like generally, but like they didn't like break it down. Like they didn't. Well, no, they did break it down, but like they didn't like they broke it down on the national level, like how the national block version of the block was scheduled. But they didn't break it down on like all the little how all the affiliates schedule it.
Yeah.
So like it's on at different times. It's on too early in the morning. Like they just, I commend the effort, but they really screwed themselves over it. And so the fact that we don't have nationally networked Saturday morning entertainment focused, not EI focused, but entertainment, specifically entertainment focused television blocks, in an age where the content universe is expanding and people are becoming and people are getting content from more sources and are becoming arguably less beholden in some ways to certain aspects of things. Like
definitely less accessible.
Yeah. Like there's a level of accessibility there. There's a level of cachet. There's a level of visibility there that comes from being in that position versus anywhere else, because you've got, again, broadcast television available in basically the entire country, one way or another. Again, a national network, you have to take this program. It can't necessarily be preempted so easily. It can't be shunted around so easily, though some affiliates do. Even with Vortex, a couple affiliates did screw around with it because it was meant to be run on tape delay. But still, most affiliates ran it in pattern. So like all of these little things are important, and I'm still really pissed that broadcast networks felt it was better for them to just shunt in EI programming as a malicious compliance move, that rather than actually provide programming to kids audiences when it stopped being lucrative in their eyes, I guess.
Yeah.
Because there are people who grew up and people who are growing up without cable, and like, what do they like? Sure, you can make the argument that cable networks exists. Great for people who have cable. Sure, you can argue that nowadays you've got the internet and streaming, but like that is also like, streaming services are their own added cost. And good luck trying to find anything in there, as I've tried to argue on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
And there's just like, you can make all these different arguments, but there's nothing like the broadcast networks putting in a concerted effort to actually deliver something for these audiences. And it sucks. And I hate that we're the last generation that's actually going to have any experience with that. Because like,
honestly,
it was an institution. It was an institution just as much as Saturday Night Live or The Simpsons are, or the evening news. And what does just because it's kids programming makes it less important or more fickle, which is its own fucking bag of worms. But the shifts in the world of television, especially as the content universe expands with all these new entrants in streaming and video as a whole, have been moves that I don't really appreciate or like or enjoy all that much. And admittedly, there is some amount of pessimism and ire that I have towards that. But I when I do content, I try and play it where it lies, honestly. Like, I will advocate for the things that I would want to see happen, but at the same time, I can't like will them into existence necessarily. I'm not in that position. I am an observer at best, and have minimal impact on whether shows live or die, much less major network decisions like direction and things like that. So I just try and be real and be honest and play things where they lie in that regard, even though I will still advocate for the things I feel are important and the things that I enjoy and that I want to see and want to see more of. And I don't know where I went with this, but here, that's 20 minutes of content.
Nah, it's fine. I think I'll think to wrap it up. I think I might like abridge a bit, but then again, I ramble too. So, but it's like I think I definitely relate because like a lot of people, I think just the idea of having a block that curates programming, is just incredibly important. That's why I am just very much invested in Toonami, because like
Kids love it.
a lot of people don't have all the streaming services that
Yeah.
people just get that just watch all these shows on instead.
Yeah,
You know,
streaming services in particular really lack that level of curation that linear still has, and that
yeah,
they really should
exactly.
use more of.
Like for me, like until like Mob Psycho 100 came on TV, like that was like completely under my radar, and I'm kind of bummed because like I was waiting for season 2 to hit, and it never did. But it's kind of besides the point. I'm just saying, people keep saying that Toonami's dying or Toonami's in a dark age, but like it's still here. We're at a point where they allied themselves with potentially one of their potential biggest competitors, and now we're getting a shitload of original shows down the line, and other people who have tried, like Chiller's horror anime block and Viceland in the UK, they haven't been as successful, and I guess I think in like Chiller's case, they kind of like crash and burn. So obviously,
It was
they're doing something right.
it was a very tiny NBC Universal cable channel, and it had sort of descended into repeats of just sort of it descended into repeats at some point, like sort of more of like science fiction content, less horror content, more like science fiction sort of things that vaguely fit, but like their heart wasn't in it anymore.
Right.
Similarly to Clue becoming basically USA reruns for the last little while of its existence before both of their plugs got pulled at the same time on December 31st, 2012. I don't remember the year, but it was like December 31st of a year in the early 2010s. I think it was 2012, but I'd have to double check. But yeah, there's a certain when you sort of built up that brand, and you've built up this destination for things, there's still so much importance to that. And when people like try and make the case that streaming is the future and like linear television is dying and cable's going to be dead tomorrow and similar hyperbole, no. No, honestly, that's not the case. Linear television certainly has more competition, but they are going to find ways to adapt, and they're going to find ways to make their case in this broad content landscape, and they have advantages that streaming services simply will not. Like, it seems like every day you hear about Netflix killing off another show, or you
Yeah.
hear about a streaming service screwing over something else, or this great show launches but it's on Amazon Prime that no one has, or Apple TV Plus that no one really cares for.
Yeah, that's what happened with me with the Tick and Amazon Writers, but I complained about that in the first episode, I think. But still, it applies. I
Yeah,
hate
it
the fact that,
applies. So like
you know,
there's, as much as people want to harp on about the death of linear television, like it's not going anywhere. There's still so many important things. There's still so much importance that it has, and so many important things that does well and does better than a lot of the content options out there. It's just an expanding content space, and everyone is fighting for a smaller share of the wider pot. And that's not necessarily going to look great for the executives who want growth at all costs, but they have to understand that this is the field now, and they're going to have to adapt or they're going to get left behind. And I don't think a lot of executives have come around to that necessarily. And we're sort of in a weirdly depressing phase where ratings are dipping all across the board. But at the same time, and like that, and like executives are getting like all trigger happy and killing things off too quick, and like that's its own set of problems. But I see no evidence. We've been on the streaming is the future train for literally 10 years at this point. It feels like ever since Netflix took its first breath, offering things besides a mail DVD service, that people have been trying to argue that streaming is the future. Well, here we are in the future, everybody.
Here we are in the future, and it's wrong.
Here we are in the future. Where's my fucking death knell? I literally have ridiculousness on MTV sitting right above me as I'm talking with you, like always. Linear television is not going anywhere, at least not anytime soon.
Yeah. And like I hope it doesn't, honestly, because
Honestly.
I don't feel good having to go through certain means to just keep up with shows that I would watch if they got like even syndication on like linear TV, but that's just not in the cards.
Yeah, the trouble also is with sort of the exclusivity. And like it's understandable. It's understandable that they have the exclusivity. Like, every network has their own things and they're not necessarily going to share unless they're, corporately owned or vertically integrated or however. But streaming and linear are two different beasts, and not everyone has the means to shell out for streaming on top of, if you're already paying for cable, or if you're already, it is arguably easier to find to watch a linear television channel through means than it is to find a lot of these streaming shows. And even if you do subscribe to 18 bajillion streaming services, it's just a giant vat of content, and like it is very easy to lose things in there. And like if a lot of streaming shows just sort of have their 5 seconds of relevancy unless they're particularly spectacular. And once their 5 seconds of relevancy are gone, like off to the pit with you, never to be seen again. And I really hate that part of the streaming model, as it's sort of like the worst of the commoditization of art in a way.
Yeah.
Because like it is putting this, this television series or this movie that a lot of people worked very hard on, and it just sort of throws it away like the second it comes out. And like, not that linear television is doing all that much better with pacing anymore in the age of strip premieres. Thanks a lot, Steven Universe. But but linear television, at least you've got time to let it happen and to exist in that moment before we all move on to whatever the next thing is. And like, arguably linear television is a touch more stable than some fringes of the streaming game. Like, maybe Netflix isn't going anywhere anytime soon unless their debt load catches up to them. But like some of the smaller players, and like, even Quibi, like, you could be, your streaming service could be the next Quibi before you know it. So like, I think it's like there is some stability with the major players, but like, and like now we're seeing a lot of new entrants, and they may have a decent shot at becoming like they're sort of a second tier in a ways right now, because like they're like everyone wants to be Netflix, but like there's like tiers of relevancy below that everyone's
Yeah.
fighting around. So like, but like on linear television, like the players, the game, either you're into the aesthetic they've crafted or you're not. And that's another of the big benefits that linear television has. Like every channel has the time to craft its own aesthetic and brand and curate themselves in a way that streaming services just do not have the opportunity, because streaming services have to be all things to all people all of the time. And so they don't necessarily have the flexibility or the opportunity to really define themselves in a specific direction. And so it's kind of harder for them to really like, we're a destination for this thing. It's hard for them to do that because they're trying to say that to all these different audiences.
Right.
And also I feel like I'm just wasting a video on this now. But like, let me say it for metrics. But the other big thing is that just the sheer amount of content that these streaming services put out, it is overload, and it contributes to the fact that a lot of these things just get so thrown away so quickly, because like there's literally something new coming out tomorrow probably.
Yeah, and they
Relatively.
just drop
And like
a whole season in like a day.
yeah, oh, that too. I'm not terribly a big fan of binge, like a binge
can't.
watching. I don't necessarily have the time to binge watch per se, between like content creation and other things. And like maybe I'll sit back and like watch 4 episodes, maybe. I'll sit at it for like a few hours, maybe like maybe a little longer than that if I actually have the time. But like I don't necessarily understand folks who like watch 3 seasons in a week straight. I like, more power to you, but like
I don't get One Piece fans.
Oh, do not get me started on anime. How does one like if you sat, like, as much as I love ridiculousness, if you sat me down to watch all of the 500 and probably 560 at this point, let me check.
Clockwork Orange style.
Yeah, like well, maybe not entirely Clockwork Orange style, but like if you sat me down to watch all 588 current episodes of ridiculousness as to date, probably to the end of this week, because there's still brand new episodes. Like if you sat, like, I could not watch them all in one go, and that's what a lot, and like that's probably more of an issue in anime, I hear, where you really have to sit and slog for weeks on a binge before you really get places. But like I don't understand it, and I don't necessarily support it, because like you need the breathing space is appreciated. Like,
yeah,
like Gravity, like it builds fandom, it allows theorizing and like fan creation and like all these things that are sort of robbed from us unknowingly. Now
that's exactly why I just like Toonami, and exactly why I am so glad that we got like on like the first 5 episodes of Infinity Train book 3, and we had to wait like a week or 2 weeks until we got the next half. I think that's like a perfect compromise, because when shit hit the fan, it hit the fan.
I still need to watch it, but
yes, that's exactly why
I still need to watch it. But yeah, that's a decent compromise. Or here's a thought: just drop things weekly, like we have been for the past 6 decades. Y'all can go back to fucking waiting. You can actually get a chance to suffer again and savor that suffering Oh.
However,
This feels like a
will-
greatest hits album of all my hottest takes. What am I doing with this show? What am I doing with this podcast? I feel like I should be doing something else with it, but like,
it is basically your own podcast at this rate.
well, I'm actually gonna get a podcast going of my own, and it's going to be more constructive than this. I'm hoping to get started once school gets out, and we've all got some time on our hands. But
You hear that, audience? We're getting the spinoff.
It's only the spinoff if you get this out before I start. Technically, I can invite you. Technically, if not, I can invite you on and make it a backdoor pilot.
Yeah. However, I will say, we definitely covered a lot of ground, and I'm just like very surprised. This is like a very engaging conversation that we'll probably pick up on like I don't know, like probably next week. Not even just like
I would love to come back.
Yeah, but
you name the place, Cash. I would love to come back.
Yeah, and for everyone that's listening, I am Cash. This is.
I'm Benzie Johnson Jr. I'm enthusiastic about television. You can find me youtube.com/c/BENZIE Johnson. Also at IMBENZJ on Twitter.
And we have been, your talkers for this evening. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.